A young historian named Evelyn discovers an ancient, leather-bound journal in an old bookshop, tucked away in a forgotten corner of the city. The journal is dusty and worn, with its cover engraved with strange, archaic symbols that she cannot read. Driven by curiosity, Evelyn buys the journal, sensing it holds secrets of an unknown past. When she opens the first page, her surroundings seem to shift subtly, as if the world around her has darkened. The journal's pages are filled with mysterious entries detailing journeys to distant lands and encounters with strange beings. The entries are dated back to the 1800s and written by a man named Alistair Gray, an explorer who vanished without a trace. Alistair's handwriting is elegant but cryptic, often trailing off as if he were interrupted. Evelyn begins to read about his travels to places that don't exist on any modern map. Alistair describes lands filled with eerie mists and towns where no one speaks. His entries mention the shadow realm, a parallel world hidden within the depths of night. Each entry in the journal makes Evelyn feel as though she's being watched. Strange coincidences start happening, with shadows seeming to move in the corners of her vision. Alistair's journey takes him to the legendary Whispering Forest, a place where no traveler returns. As Evelyn reads, she realizes the journal's ink begins to fade when exposed to direct light. She becomes obsessed, reading late into the night by candlelight, piecing together clues in Alistair's entries. The journal mentions a guardian of shadows, a creature that can shift between worlds and trap souls. Alistair's last entry warns any reader to turn back and destroy the journal before it's too late. But Evelyn is drawn in deeper, wanting to understand his fate. She begins seeing strange symbols in her dreams, symbols identical to those on the journal's cover. The dreams show her glimpses of Alistair, wandering through endless fog, calling her name. Each night, the dreams grow more vivid, and she hears whispers urging her to join us. Evelyn begins noticing bruises on her arms as if she's been grabbed while she sleeps. She tries to stop reading the journal, but an invisible force seems to compel her back to it. Alistair's entries grow frantic, filled with warnings about the gatherers, creatures that roam the shadow realm. He describes the feeling of being followed, a presence just out of sight. As Evelyn reads, she feels an identical presence in her own home, lurking just beyond her view. She tries reaching out to an old folklore professor, but he dismisses her claims as superstition. Determined, she digs deeper into Alistair's life, finding his portrait in a dusty archive. The portrait's eyes seem to follow her, as though Alistair is watching her from beyond. She discovers Alistair's research on portals that connect to the shadow realm during the witching hour. Each night at midnight, strange sounds echo in her apartment, whispers, footsteps, and faint scratching on walls. Her friends grow concerned as Evelyn becomes increasingly paranoid and reclusive. She begins to believe she's no longer alone, that something from the shadow realm is with her. The journal's pages now have stains that resemble shadowy handprints. Desperate, Evelyn decides to follow Alistair's trail to the Whispering Forest, hoping for answers. She travels to a remote village near the forest, seeking guidance from the locals. The villagers refuse to speak of the forest, calling it cursed and warning her to leave. Despite their warnings, she ventures into the forest, following Alistair's descriptions. The forest is eerily silent, with shadows that seem to pulse and move. She finds symbols carved into trees, leading her deeper into the woods. Evelyn feels the weight of unseen eyes, as though the forest itself is alive. Following Alistair's trail, she stumbles upon an abandoned campsite. There, she finds items that match descriptions from the journal: Alistair's compass, his hat, and an old map. The map has an X marked on it, deep within the forest. As night falls, the shadows around her deepen, becoming more solid, almost tangible. Evelyn hears whispers growing louder, voices that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere. She realizes that each whisper is a warning, but she can't turn back now. She reaches the mark spot, finding a stone circle with symbols etched on each stone. In the center lies a mirror, old and cracked, covered in dust. The journal described this mirror as a portal to the shadow realm. She hesitates, but curiosity pushes her to wipe away the dust and peer into the mirror. In the reflection, she sees not her own face, but that of Alistair Gray, staring back. His eyes are filled with a silent plea, his hand reaching out to her. She touches the mirror, feeling a chill pass through her fingers. The ground trembles, and a black mist begins to seep out of the mirror. Shadows gather around her, forming shapes that resemble human figures. Alistair's voice echoes in her mind, "The price of knowledge is freedom." Evelyn tries to pull away, but the shadows have taken hold of her arms. She feels herself being pulled into the mirror, into the shadow realm. Just before she's fully consumed, she drops the journal, leaving it behind. The last thing she sees is Alistair's sorrowful face, watching her disappear into the mist. The journal lies open on the ground, its pages now completely blank. Days later, a local villager finds the journal on the forest floor. Curious, he picks it up, flipping through the empty pages. As he closes it, he notices an engraving on the back cover. The journal is never truly empty. He brings it back to the village, planning to show it to the elders. That night, the villager dreams of a young woman named Evelyn and an explorer named Alistair. In his dream, they call to him, their voices merging with shadows. The villagers whisper of a new curse upon the forest, tied to an old, abandoned journal. From that day forward, anyone who reads the journal begins to see shadows following them. The journal passes from hand to hand, each reader feeling the same compulsion to keep reading. No one knows how to break the curse, for the journal seems to have a life of its own. Whispers start spreading that the journal is a gateway to the shadow realm. The villagers begin calling it the Lost Journal of Shadows. Every reader feels a deepening sense of dread as they reach the final pages. Rumors say that those who finish the journal's last entry vanish without a trace. Some brave souls seek it out, hoping to uncover its secrets, but few return. It becomes a legend, the journal that traps its readers in a shadowy world. The journal's pages continue to fill, adding new names, new stories, and new fates. In time, it becomes a relic of fear, and no one dares to open it anymore. But every so often, an outsider stumbles upon it, drawn in by its mystery. And the cycle begins anew, with another soul lost to the shadows. No one knows the journal's true origin or how it came to be. Some say it was forged in the depths of the shadow realm itself. Legends spread of a powerful being, the guardian of shadows, who watches over it. Those who read it become part of the journal, their stories adding to its cursed pages. The villagers mark the journal's location, warning others to stay away. But the journal always seems to find its way back into the world. It lies dormant, waiting for the next curious soul to open its pages. The shadows are patient, knowing they will always find another. The journal remains, eternally tied to the shadow realm, a bridge to a place no one should go. To this day, some say you can hear whispers if you listen closely, voices of those trapped within, calling for help. The village has long since abandoned the cursed forest, but still, travelers speak of a bookshop where the journal sometimes appears. Its cover remains blank until touched, then fills with stories of the curious who came before. It is said that if you touch the journal, your name will be added to its pages. And once your name is written, there is no escape from the shadows. The journal waits, always patient, always watching. Somewhere, in a quiet, forgotten corner, it awaits its next reader, eager to continue its tale.